Hey there, it's Pete with GCI Turf. I hope you're having a great day today. I want to welcome you out here to my home. Those of you who've been watching me a while, you know this is Fescue, a little bit of bluegrass mixed in it. I made the change, 3-ish years ago or so, and went from straight tall fescue and added just a little bit of bluegrass in it. And the only reason I did that was for color. And, ooh, hey, butterfly. Color. I tell you what, I'm going to get this flower right here. It's probably a long shot, but I'm going to see if he'll come over here. And I'm just going to hold it right here and pretend I'm a flower and see if he'll come over here and get him a little whatever they get out of here. So basically I wanted to add a little bluegrass to it just to darken the yard up. When you get up real close to it, you can't see a drastic difference in the color. But at a distance, when I'm coming down the road or walking down the road and you glance over, the overall appearance of the yard is quite a bit darker than it used to be, simply because it's got that little bit of Kentucky blue in it. Mowing, I don't mow it any different. I mow it basically just like I'd mow any fescue yard. Keep it cut at 4.25 inches roughly in the summer. Take it down to about 3.5 for the fall and the winter. Fertilization, weed control, disease control, it's identical to my normal fescue program. I don't stray from that one bit. I do the exact same fertilizer program on the mix, fescue bluegrass mix, as I do a normal fescue yard. Watering, I don't water any different. I really feel like, I got so much fescue here. It's a full-blown yard of fescue and just a little bit of bluegrass sprinkled in it. And I really feel like the fescue protects the bluegrass. And of course, the root system is super intense. Y'all remember I done that video and pulled up core, and I measured 14-inch deep roots for my fescue. I mean, you're talking about a root system that deep, right? And all of that helps to retain moisture. It protects the root system of the bluegrass. The canopy of the fescue protects the canopy of the bluegrass. The only reason I even threw that out there is I've had a lot of people ask me, do you have to change anything since you put bluegrass in the fescue? And my answer is no, not really. I don't know that I'd recommend you doing that if you have a non-irrigated yard, because the bluegrass might struggle a little bit during the summer. I don't know, because I do water out here, so it's kind of hard for me to answer that question and be straight up with you. So I'm doing something a little bit different in my yard this fall. To date, as of right now, the end of the first week of August, barring nothing goes drastically wrong in the next month, I am not going to aerate and overseed my yard. This will be the first year since I've been in this home that I have not aerated and overseeded this yard. The reason is because I really don't think I need it. The yard is incredibly thick and incredibly dense right now. My yard has never looked this good this far into August. It's always looked good going into August, except my armyworm year. Obviously that, didn't work out too good for me. But the rest of the time, it looks pretty good in August, and I always felt like I needed to aerate and seed it just to help thicken it up, introduce some new grass plants and that kind of thing. But this year, it is absolutely incredible. I cannot get over how thick and dense it is in August. And I've been running my elite edition of my Cool Season Lawn Care Guide, which is a full-blown, full-tilt lawn care program. And as y'all know, this year was my first year using the protein fertilizer, and I run it all year long. And I really think that has a lot to do with the way the yard looks. That's a super slow release fertilizer. It doesn't push aggressive growth. The grass doesn't jump out of the ground growing 100 miles an hour. And I really can't go back and look on a calendar and tell you, but just going off mowing the past 8 years out here, I think it's safe to say I have actually mowed my yard less in the season of 2021 than I ever have in previous years. And I think that's, got a lot to do with that protein fertilizer and it being that super slow release, and you don't get those aggressive spikes of growth using, fertilizers that aren't quite as slow release. And of course, I'm still hitting it with the Green County fertilizer, the humic acid. But the main thing is I've continued to pump humic acid to it. I've been very anal about putting it out once a month. Sometimes I even go as little as 3 weeks and get an application in. So with all that said, that's what's leading me to not aerate and overseed this year. Now, if you are in that same position, if your yard looks incredible in August going into September and you would traditionally aerate and overseed and you want to skip it, by all means skip it. Don't waste the money on the grass seed. Don't waste your time, renting a plugger, the money renting a plugger, or paying a company to come out and aerate and seed. Just don't do it. And in place of doing that, I'm going to apply pre-emergent. And I'm going to run that with aerate, humic 12, and RGS, all in one mixture in either my flow zone or my strom, whichever one I happen to pick up. And I'll come out here and spray it down, and I'm going to water it in really, really well. I'll probably do that in the next couple of weeks, which will put me, I don't know, 3rd, 4th week of August. And then around Labor Day, what I'm going to do is apply the protein 2005. Now, typically I would apply the protein starter at that time of year to 15, 22, 10. But since I'm not going to seed, I'm not really interested in any phosphorus. So the 2005 will be my choice of fertilizer. Now, I'm almost kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. If you recall, last winter was an incredibly wet winter. I cannot get over how much rain we got last winter. And of course, in the spring it all dried up, but that's another story. And that brought on the Poa annua. I've never really had any Poa annua in the yard, maybe a little bit here and a little bit there. That's where I can dig it out by hand and it's gone. But this past spring, I actually had a little bit more than desired along the edges of the road. And the reason for that is if you would have pulled in my neighborhood in this past spring and you would have drove down the road, every single yard in our community, and when I say every yard, I'm being extremely literal. I mean every yard had about a 3-inch to 12-inch wide strip by the road of Poa annua. You could actually tell who had cut their grass and who hadn't because of the white seed heads popping up. And there was literally thousands and thousands and thousands of Poa annua plants lining the streets of our neighborhood. So you know how that goes. People cut their grass, they throw the clippings out in the road, the wind blows, it rains, it washes seed down the street, it collects against the edge of the grass and finds a home, and then it comes up. And that is why I had a little bit of Poa annua come up along the edges of my road. No, it didn't come from the grass seed or nothing like that. It literally blew down the street or washed down the street from the neighbor's yards. So it is what it is. So hopefully my pre-emergent that I'm applying this year will actually control that going into next spring. Now, what if you're not in that situation, okay? And your yard's weak and thin, or you got big bare spots or something like that, or your yard's just not where you want it to be. Fall is the time, okay? Fall of the year is the time for cool season turf to do some aeration, get some grass seed in the ground, get it up and running, get it fed, get it mowed, get it fed again heavily before you're going into the winter time. We'll probably end up aerating and seeding my neighbor's yard over there this year. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that. And then obviously we've got the renovation going back here in the back. So I'll still have grass seed videos coming up, but we won't be doing it here in my yard. Now, what about weeds going into the fall? Well, typically the majority of herbicides have anywhere from a 14 to 28 day period. And what I mean by period is, let's say you apply it on the first of the month, you would have to wait 14 or 28 days, depending on the herbicide and depending on what the label says, before you can put your grass seed down. Yes, there are herbicides that you can apply grass seed and spray right over top of the seed, kind of like tenacity. But I prefer to clean up weeds beforehand, okay? So if you plan it on aerating and seeding, say mid-September, by mid-August, you need to have your herbicide down so that it has an entire month to do its thing, get the weeds under control, the crabgrass, the sedge, the whatever it is. It has time to get that under control, and then that herbicide has left the building. So I think that's about it. I really can't think anything else I need to add to that. If your yard's looking really, really good, and you don't want to spend money or time or effort into aerating and overseeding, it's a great year not to do that. Regardless of whether you do seed or you don't seed this year, the fertilization part shouldn't stop, shouldn't change. You continue on with your fertilization program up until winter, and that'll kind of set you up for a great 2022 spring and get you rocking and rolling. So the test plot, I don't know what we're going to call that back there. We can't call it a test plot no more. I don't know. Y'all tell me, what do you want to call that back there now that we're switching it over to Kentucky Bluegrass and it's no longer a test plot area? Comment below, tell me what you want to call it, and we'll figure something out. I've had a lot of questions about an update on the shop yard, and I've been filming a little bit here and there for the past couple of months because I got a kind of a, I don't know if you call it a reveal video or whatever, but I've got a big update video coming for that. And in about a week or so from now, I'll post that update video once I get all the footage together and get it edited. And gonna be a pretty big surprise to you, I think. As always, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch, and I'll check you later.